I'm going to start the recording here, but I have to see your mug. That is so pretty.
Well, it's snowing outside, so when it's snowing, I drink out of the snowman mug.
Oh, I love that. That is super duper cool. I love it.
I know
Well,
this is like a sleepy time tea, so hopefully I won't fall asleep. But I was like in meetings all day, my back hurts. I'm like an old lady. I'm like, I'm gonna drink my tea.
I'm so riveting that there's no way you're going to fall asleep.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Um, so I think this is Lori's first kind of workshop, but it's the same format as we do with the Get Paid from the Stage. It's me talking and I'll pull up websites and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you the framework of creating online courses first, and then I'm going to pull up the two platforms that I've used. I talk about money all the time, and my whole thing is we don't talk about money enough as women, both in our corporate careers and in our businesses. So I'll answer any questions you have about money. I'll show you my earnings. I'll talk to you about, what's worked for me and what hasn't worked for me. But first, I'm going to share my screen. I do have a cool update that, oh, look, Lori, this is what I was doing. I was listening to Alicia's podcast.
They're great, aren't they?
Yeah, they're really good. I've really enjoyed them. So I wanted to show you guys the platform that I use to lock down. Hang on, I'm turning this off. The platform that I use to create the member pages had a pretty cool update, and I'm playing around with exactly what I want to be in here. But when you go to sparkleandrisecommunity.com, or you can type in sparkleandrise.club, there's now a member menu down here. And depending on what you're signed up for, you can click this, helps make it a little less confusing, right? So like you can click here and go right to the member workshop page, and you guys were both in Get Paid for the Stage January. So you will only see this, like I'm playing with it to update it, but and it will take you directly to those pages. So that's just a little update. And I may add the calendar down there so that if you want to come here and sign up for the different things we've got going on, you can do it there too. So that's just a little update for you, still playing around with how that whole thing works.
I like it.
Cool. I liked it too. I was just like, I'm really working on simplifying what we got going on here. So we'll talk about that at the end. All right, so if I use my Cool Beans new little navigation and I go to workshops, it's going to bring me here. And here is our online course bundle. You can click here, you can click here, or you can click on the link down here to get to it. So this bundle, first of all, has way more checklists and documents than I typically have in the bundles. Usually there's, 1, 2, 3. This one's got a lot. And I just kind of want to walk you through what's here first. So this first one is just your checklist for the bundle. This is a course script template guide, but then which I'm going to open up for you. And then you've got your engaging videos guide. The difference between these two, this is a PDF, this is a Canva template. And this is really honing in on vision and ideal students. I'll walk you through the template on really designing your course, and then the landing page guide, and then what my landing page looks like that I created using that format. So I'm not going to go through this first one, but I do want to, it just says, sign up for the sharing circle, do this, do that. Before I jump into the different platforms, I want to give you guys the framework on creating the online course, because once you get that down, you can choose the platform. The ones that I'm familiar with are Udemy and Teachable, and those are the two that I'm going to tell you about in this workshop. The other option is, you can lock down a page just like I locked down these pages and sell it on your website. You could create a video and make it unlisted in YouTube and, do it through email. There's lots and lots of ways you can do it. So let's talk first about the framework of creating your online course. So I want to show you what's in here. We're going to look at the course script template guide. just for starters. So once you're ready to create your videos, this is a way that you can really think about what is your templated course going to look like. And I don't script every one of my videos. I do bullet points, and then I talk to the bullet points when I'm talking, you know, delivering a lecture. Some people really, really like to have it scripted. Ideally, each one of your lectures is only going to be like 5 to 7 minutes, 10 at the top. So if you're wondering, okay, what kind of script count is that? I've got it here so you can, you know, kind of get a feel for it. And then I've got some guidance into how you structure the content inside of your online course. So when you think about, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show you the script template first, because I feel like that may actually help a little bit more than we can pop back here. So when you think about how your course is set up, this is how it should be set up. You're going to have different sections. So you'll have a section title, you'll have a learning goal for each section, and then this would be the titles of your individual lectures here. So they're really set up in groups. Typically you have an intro section, you have a conclusion section, and then the pieces in the middle are more meaty. After I show you what you've got up here, I've got down here the actual course outline I used for the most recent course that I created. So you can, it kind of helps if you can actually see what the heck is she talking about. So, and then here you would say, what is it you're going to cover? Is there an activity? Is there an exercise? Is there assignment? What are the key takeaways? Right? So like 1 to 2 key points you want your learners to know. Here's where you say, okay, you know, I want to make sure I talk about this story in this lecture, or I want to make sure I give this example or this statistic or this experience. And then this is, how are you going to deliver it? It can just be you talking with some, you know, fly-ins where you highlight your key takeaways. It could be just PowerPoint. Could be PowerPoint with you in the corner. So, you know, say, okay, for this lecture, here's how I'm going to deliver it. And then this is your resources. So things that they can download. Now, since you both have been through the Paid from the Stage program, you will very quickly see the things that I include in my online courses are exactly the types of things that I create for my speaking. So things like a guide that has the key takeaways, journaling prompts, assessments, all of those things that you already have the templates for in Canva are the things that I include as resources for each lecture. And then how long is that lecture going to be? And you're estimating, because you should fill this out before you ever record your first video. So my first online course was Leading Millennials, and I've updated it to Leading Millennials and Gen Z. I didn't do all of this detailed work beforehand. I, you know, hand wrote an outline and, you know, figured it out as I was kind of going along, to be honest with you. And I did not keep them short. Those lectures are long. I would never do that today. So it's really, really helpful if you line it out and get organized in advance. The other thing that it does is you'll know what content you need to create, you know, in advance. So like when I recorded my change management workshop, I'd be recording, you know, these videos up here, but then looking down the line, what do I need to create to get ready? So it helps you with planning. So I'm going to show you my example, and that's just here on this tab. And this is, I think, going to help you see it a little bit more clearly. So like, you know, this is welcome and introduction. I want to introduce myself and explain why change management is important for leaders. So I've got only 4 lectures in this one. Meet your instructor. What is change management? Why should I care? And then I've got an exercise, imagine a leader. I had written down that I was going to do quizzes, and so this is when I started recording, this is what I had out there. I later decided I wasn't going to do a quiz, and I'll talk to you more about that, why I decided that later. What you're going to find is you'll record a video, and then you'll look at what you have planned next, and you'll be like, eek, I think I need to move these around, or I need to add a new lecture in there because there's not a good bridge between the two. But this is amazing to get you started because, and I'm going to take a breath after this so you guys can ask questions. As you can see, I had to build it all out, right? So it's like, meet your instructor. What am I going to do? I'm going to share my experience. I'm going to give them confidence in my change management expertise and a course overview. Top 2 things here, little bit of data I want to make sure I mention. I'm going to deliver it by just talking. I'm not going to have any PowerPoint, and I'm not going to have any downloadable resources. And I expect it to take about 2 minutes. So you build all of this out, and then you can kind of look at it, make sure it flows, move things around, and you're really, really going to be super prepared to record that session, that lecture, and start building the content for your course. And if I come down here, so you can see there's not that many here, but here, when I start talking about calm transformation, there's several lessons, and there is quite a few of these, documents for people to download. And in this particular course, I ended up with that section 3, and then 4 sections. So the conclusion is short like the intro. So I'm going to pause there. Have you guys asked me questions just kind of about the framework, and then we'll go take a look at the guides.
Okay, so I have a lot of questions.
That's good. Ask away.
All right, so and I watched some of the change management. I'm partway through yours, so I've seen this pattern of what you're doing with
Yep.
it. And I mean, I hear you when you say that you would not do a longer lecture anymore, that you'd break it up into these chunks, and I could see where I could relate it to a slide in a PowerPoint of training material I've done before. But doesn't that get confusing when you have so many things that somebody needs to go into and to keep organized and to do, as opposed to one that's on that overall, topic or a lesson? And I'm not sure which ones we're calling lessons. Like, I'm not sure at what level they become a lesson or a video or that.
Yep.
So I'm probably using it wrong. But I mean, overall, if the content is 45 minutes, one way or another, you're getting 45 minutes, whether it's 45 minutes all together in one or 45 minutes broken up like this.
Yep.
So help me get the pros and cons of both sides of it.
Yep. So I'll talk through the nomenclature first. So I've been using the nomenclature with Udemy. So, and I'll explain why, and then I'll answer your questions. And I'll give you the path later, but the why is right now I'm creating online courses for Udemy because they reached out to me. Oh, here comes Alicia. We'll let her get hooked up to audio. So Udemy reached out to me because I had a course, hey Alicia, in Udemy for Business that did really, really well. And I'll tell you how you can get in Udemy for Business next. And they wanted me to be part of their preferred instructor group. And so they offered me for free free coaching for 1 year with an Udemy expert on how to create online courses. She worked with me on the framework that they find works the absolute best to maintain learners' attention. They actually paid me to create that change management course to begin with. And I had to sign something that said I wouldn't tell anybody, but if you guess they gave me $1,000, you'd be really, really close to create that online course. And then I also, and that's just for creating it. Once I get 3 online courses in Udemy for Business, I'll be in their preferred instructor program. And this is the framework that she laid out. I mean, she gave me a ton of coaching on it. And I said, well, my first course, you know, I don't really know why people liked it so much. Because to be honest with you, I was uncomfortable in front of the camera. I know what the fuck I was doing. And it's like, people love it. So there you go. But here's the pros and cons. And I can see this in other things that I have delivered. First of all, people's attention span's pretty short these days. It's getting shorter and shorter. And they cannot consume 45 minutes of here's a whole bunch of information, especially if it's a new concept. So what they can consume is here's a bite-size piece with some content and takeaways. And then now when I'm ready, I can go on to the next one. Now you're going to have learners that go bing, 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 and they, you know, run through it. And then you're going to have learners that need a space of time to let that digest. I really want to get my courses into Udemy for Business, and you'll see why when I show you my revenue. And in order for me to get my courses in Udemy for Business, they're going to be much more likely to do it if I follow their preferred framework. So there is that. I do feel like it's a benefit to break it into these smaller bite-sized chunks because of the way people consume content today. So the trick is to make it cohesive. And I struggled with that when I created this, because I am more used to here's 30 minutes, here's 45 minutes, you know, take it in and let me know if you have questions. So I was very cautious to thread it. And I would recommend that you do that too, so that if your learner wants to just continue, they can do that. So for example, you know, when I introduced the CALM framework, I'd say, you know, in this video, we're going to talk about clarity and the elements of clarity and the things that you need to know as a leader. Well, I would start with, in the last lesson, we talked about XYZ. Now let's talk about clarity, blah, blah, blah. Then at the end of that 5 to 7 minutes, I'd say, join me in the next lecture where we'll move on to the second phase in the CALM model, alignment. So you're constantly threading it through. So if you do have someone that's like, I'm ready, I want to keep moving, they don't feel herky-jerky through the whole thing.
Okay.
What else?
Well, I think on that one, I mean, like, if that's the preferred template, and I understand that they get that, it's going to be how to convert something where you're building up different ideas. And, you know, I've got material that covered typically about an hour. And when you take out any intros or things like that, like of a live classroom, you know, probably 45 to 50 minutes of content and material. And so I'll have to look at, you know, how you do that and how you start threading it. Because how much does each one, I know they don't necessarily stand on their own, but they kind of have to stand on their own a little bit.
A tiny bit, yeah. So they have to have, and this is the other reason why doing this is so helpful, because for the nomenclature, this is my online course. This is the section, right? So, you know, I've got my introduction, welcome and course intro. And then these are my lectures. So you're going to have multiple lectures inside of a section. Each one of your lectures should have a very clear, this is what I'm going to teach them in this lecture. These are going to be and this is why this framework helps so much when you write it out. You know, this is what we're going to cover. These are the couple of points. This is the story I want to make sure I tell here. Here's how I'm going to deliver it. So it begins to chunk it down. If your lectures go up to 10 minutes, I don't think you're going to have any problem at all with them saying, okay, yes, we would consider this for Udemy for Business. I don't think that's a problem. So if you prefer to keep them to 10, I think what you're going to find, because I was really stressed out about that when I did the change management course, there really is an opportunity to make some shorter lectures. And so the other thing is learners really like it when they have to do something. It's not just me talking to them. And I'll talk to you about that next. I screwed this up on my first course terribly. It was like me just talking, wasn't terribly engaging. I didn't have any assignments for them. I was just telling them what to do, right? And so I ended up, after I talked to Udemy about creating this course, going, crap, I really need to add some engagement. So I did it in a way that's causing me a bit of stress. And I did it differently in this one. So I'm going to tell you the different ways. You can create engagement with your learners in a way that you don't owe them a response back. So you can, and if you do something that they are going to take an action, that should be a separate lecture. So you teach it, and then here's the action. So it might be a reflection talk where you say, in this reflection exercise, I want you to think about a time when you really struggled with change and how your leader approached that change and how that made a difference in your level of engagement. If you're like me, here's what you're going to find. I'll see you in the next lecture. So it is an instructional video where they have to do something, which is reflection, but you don't have to grade it. Another get them engaged is take an assessment. In the previous lectures, I taught you about the CALM model. Your activity for this lecture is to take the assessment and identify your barrier point. Remember, this is what the barrier point's all about. I'll see you in the next lecture where you're going to start creating an action plan to help move you forward. So now they're doing an assessment, and then I'm going to talk to them about how they create an action plan. So they're doing work that I don't have to grade. Now, here's where I screwed up. In that first course, I did not do this at all. And in order for me, which I'll get into the whole Udemy for Business thing later, to stay that course, which has, by the way, been in Udemy for Business since 2017. In order for it to stay there, it has to hit a certain level of reviews. So I had a really good thing happen that got me a gazillion reviews that's kind of hurting me now, which I'll explain later. I wanted to get my reviews higher, so I added an assignment because I didn't include this in the lecture. They've got 2 assignments in that course where they have to fill something out. Now, they don't have to, but I'm asking them to answer some questions, which means now I have to respond to them. And can I just tell you, since I did that because I want to keep my numbers up, a couple of months ago, 1,100 people have responded to that. So that means Carla's getting up every morning going, how many people responded? I have some canned responses. I customize them. It doesn't take that long, but I'm never doing that again. So you need to build some kind of student interaction in. I highly recommend you do not make it something you have to touch. It can be a quiz. So you see on here, I said quiz. In both platforms that I've used, you can set up a quiz and the system will automatically grade it. So that's not an interaction thing. That goes down the list of things like, reflection, take an assessment, build an action plan. Quizzes are tricky because people get kind of pissed off if you make them obvious, and then you got to make them hard enough that they have to have paid attention. So they get a little bit weird. So I decided, fuck the quizzes. I'm recording this, so that's great. Fuck the quizzes. I'm not doing that. I'm just going to do these other things. So you asked me a question and I went down a rabbit hole and I don't think I answered it. What was your question?
I think you hit certain points, but it's just, I think, changing the paradigm of, that my content and my material out of something that used to be a 2-week in-person class, like, and my material, I cut that down to where it was bite-sized into 1 hour, pieces you could pick and choose and switch around. Now I need to cut that down into,
10-minute chunks.
TikTok size. And it's just it's a shift about thinking about it. And I'm sure I'll get my arms around it. And I think when you were talking about like the threading, making sure like the whole I'll see you in the next, we'll talk about this, we just talked about that, brings it together. But does that, I mean, it's probably really tricky how you do that so that if someone is binge watching 45 minutes,
Yeah,
which is hardly a binge, but in today's world that might be.
that's a binge. Yep.
Then how does that stay not so repetitive for them so that it feels like a good flow, as opposed to those people who are taking it and coming back later to pick up and do the next thing?
I think you just keep it super short. Like I would just say, like here I am, I don't know, I'm making it up. In the last lecture, we talked about how much hand cream to use. In this lecture, we're going to dig into, foot cream. And then here I go. So it's super, super fast. Like you don't waste any time doing it. The other thing is, because I know your content, I'm going to say, I'll be surprised if when you start to fill this out, you don't find that you actually have 2 or 3 courses instead of 1 course, because there's a tendency to try to pack everything into the course when, as a learner, it's too much for me. So you may have I'm making it up, a Lean Six Sigma beginners, a Lean Six Sigma intermediate, and a Lean Six Sigma advanced, right? So you may go, oh, that's too complicated for this group, I'm gonna pop that over here. I think you probably have multiple courses.
Well, and I know I have multiple courses, but like I'm thinking of like a topic or a tool.
Yeah.
And getting it out of, and I'm sure this is somewhere else in like our agenda, but there's, I think, a lot of competition in the knowledge area where I'm at. And I want to do something different with it that's the more practical way of doing it, like what we did, let me tell you the practical things that you need to know.
Yeah.
And so I definitely do, but within each one, I know the amount of content that they have that I think is already somewhat scaled to a learner, and it'll just be learning how to break it up. And I think it may be, if I look at it, the themes that go along are probably within 1 slide or 1 or 2 slides. Is it's probably already there in the material.
I'm gonna give you an example, a very specific example, and then I'm looking at Stephanie and Alicia. I'm gonna pop over to you guys and see what questions you have, and then I'm gonna pop back, because I know for sure, well, I don't know. So Stephanie and Alicia, you might want to poke your eyes out with pencils right now. I'm just gonna say that. So Lori, let's say you are thinking in your head, I'm gonna do fishbone diagram in one of these lectures.
Mhm.
That's going to be multiple lectures, because example, start it up. What's a fishbone diagram? You talk about it, you say it could be called an Ishikawa. You might have heard it referred to as a fishbone. This is why we use it. Let me, and then you pull up just 1 slide that says, and this is what a finished product looks like. Join me in the next lectures where I'm going to talk to you about how you build the first bones of the fish. Boom, second lecture. You could do it using the 5 M's. You could do it using these service things. And let me show you 2 examples of what that might look like and when you might use them. Join me in the next lecture where I'll show you how to build out the bones. Go to the next one. And then in the next one, how do you facilitate a discussion to create what I've showed you how to create? That's how you're going to break that out. And then you're going to look at the next tool and do the same thing. So come up with a format that works really good for you.
Yeah.
And then make that copy exact each time so that every tool you teach starts with an intro. What do I call it? When do I use it? Here's the basics. Here's the deep dive. Here's how I facilitate it.
Okay.
Stephanie, questions about, does that make sense, Lori?
Yeah, and they do. I mean, I think if you looked at slides and lecture notes, or the slide notes on that each lecture is probably what's contained in there.
Yep. So you'll have like 4 lectures for every tool.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Stephanie,
I'm
girl,
with you.
any questions about just the framework for starters?
No, because I've never done a course before. Me and Lori are having like such a different experience with it because I'm thrilled that it's like broken up into just short sections because that's the way my brain works. So for me, I love that it's short. I don't want to stand and talk for 45 minutes. I get bored of myself. So I'm excited that it's broken up.
Yeah, and you'll kind of get your flow. I used to record my videos of me with a camera. That's what I did with my first one. Terrible. And I have like a portrait background behind me. For my last class, I did it at my desk. I used my Mac camera to record it. And then I did use Mac editing software to, bring in the bullets and stuff. If you do do it in your office or something, like you want to unbusy it in the background, just, that kind of thing, but you don't need special equipment. My mom has like 13 courses on Udemy. She did hers with, using a video camera. People have had very successful courses using their phones, just recording on their phone. So, you don't necessarily need whiz bang equipment. Alicia, any questions on the framework before I pop back to your sister?
No, but and I apologize for being late, so I didn't hear everything. But as I'm again in this discussion, I'm also trying to kind of see, like, what I'm getting is how am I going to fit some of the things that I do into this world? And I'm immediately kind of going to the potentially the tapestry making and the art making,
Totally.
and I like that idea of again making the smaller sections, because if somebody were to watch me do something in full, it's a little much, right? So if I can teach them a little bit and let them go off and do it for a while and do it on their own, and then come back to me, and then they can do the next thing and then go off. They can watch me do the next thing and then go off and do it on their own.
Perfect.
That makes sense.
Yep. And I've got some other guides and some other things to show you.
Okay.
So you can see like this middle section is longer. It's all about the calm transformation model. Then we get into the 6 critical roles of people leaders, right? And so you can see like, there's more meat here. And then the conclusion, super simple, getting the resources you need, continuing your learning, my favorite resources, and a thank you video. So the intro and the conclusion are pretty basic, and you have that here on this tab. So if you're like, oh, I've got to fill this out, sometimes for me, a blank page is overwhelming, but if you show me what you did, I can figure it out from there. You know what I mean? What other questions, Lori, do you have about just the framework?
I think it's connecting. It's just going to be a bit of a shift.
Okay.
And I think part of it is like I don't know, do you feel like each one would stand on its own?
No, not
Like if somebody
necessarily.
came in and, got that, so that's not what you're trying to do. You're just trying to make it small enough bites of something that, they're not necessarily getting enough to put it together, or if they just jumped in and saw something that they would be usable.
Absolutely.
And I think that I'm starting to kind of connect that piece that
Yeah, it's not a 2-minute course. It's a hour-and-a-half course, and you got to do them in order. They're in order for a reason. If somebody skips around, they're not gonna, like, this is my calm in action story. It's 3 minutes long. If they didn't listen to the videos before, they're not gonna, it's not gonna make any sense to them.
right. Okay. No, I think that's making more sense. So
Okay. Cool. I'm gonna pop back here, and then we can always go back to the spreadsheet. So that's here, designing your course template. This is just your bundle checklist, says, sign up for the course, you're here. So there you go. So the course script template guide, this relates to that template that I just showed you. So you can see, right? If you're someone that writes out your lecture because you want to keep it at under 5 minutes, you're going to need no more than 750 words. I don't do that. I do bullets. But if you do, then that's fine. And then each of your lecture, these are the things that were in the template, key stories, takeaways, word count if you write it out, break it up into sections and lectures, make sure you have printables. Just like for the Get Paid for the Stage program, you want people to have something to take away. Those templates that you have for the Get Paid from the Stage program, you can use those to create your takeaway documents for your online course. You can use something else, and you can use those if you want to. Your script template should be something kind of like this. And this is what I gave you inside of the spreadsheet. But if you're like, I really don't want to use that damn spreadsheet, you can get out a piece of paper and a pencil and say, here's my course, here's the sections. And then for each lecture, this is the title, my key takeaways, the printables I'm going to use. I kind of had an outline. I've done a couple of courses. Some of them were so terrible, Udemy took them off. So I'll show you those. But I didn't do this like really structured think with my very first courses. But this is the resource that you have there. Let me show you the other resources, and then I'll get your question. So we did that engaging videos guide. This is your process for creating engaging videos. I would just, look at it, get yourself familiar with it. Don't worry about whether or not your delivery is perfect. My most profitable course on Udemy so far, although I do think my new one is going to pass it up, is the first one. I had no idea what I was doing and my delivery was not great. But to plan for it, this is a little framework. Only cover one topic or concept in each lecture, and that's what's going to keep you into that bite size. It's a little bit of reiteration, right? So 1 to 2 takeaways, say why it's important. Use stories. People connect to stories and examples and data. So you want to make sure you connect to them. And then you're going to have people from many, many different industries. My biggest demographic is in India that listens to my videos. It's so weird. My husband says, one day we have to go to India and find the gold shrine of you, because what the hell's going on over there? And I'm like, I don't know. So I'll show you my stats in a minute. This one's tough, and it's easy. Avoid corporate speak, acronym, or industry specific languages. And we all have a tendency to do that. So like Alicia, for you, in your artistic world, you'll say things that are just second nature to you. And I have no idea what that is, right? So you want to make sure explaining things. So this is some guidance for you on how to create engaging videos, how to create engaging delivery. We've talked through some of these things. So this is my example for transitions, Lori. At the start of the lecture, in the last lecture, we discussed why people leaders need to lead change for their direct reports. In this lecture, we're going to talk about 6 responsibilities of people leaders. Boom, I'm in it. Right? And then at the end, now that we covered the 6 responsibility of people leaders, it's time for you to complete an assessment for one of your employees. So that it's a sentence. And then you're just threading it through. And then introducing activities, how to do that. So, you know, practicing and then recording your test video. So that is here. And then this one, I didn't do this either. So these 2 things are exactly the same. The difference is this one is a Canva template when you click on it, so you can fill it out in Canva. This is a PDF worksheet that you would have to print. This you should do before you fill out that spreadsheet or you sit down and write out your content. And I hated it. Like the lady at Udemy was like, had to like, you know, drag me kicking and screaming to do this. And it helped me so much because I'm like, oh, I already know this stuff. And she's like, write it down, write it down, write it down. So I will do this every time going forward because it gets you really, really clear and focused on what the hell it is you're going to teach, because you feel like you have it down until you have to fill this thing out. So what are the goals and interests, personal and career for the students? So who are you targeting? Who is your ideal student? Who should not take your course? There's going to be people that shouldn't take it. Who are those people? What should they know before they take your course? It's going to be some prerequisites. I don't know what, but like, what should they know? How do you want them to feel during the course? How do you want them to feel at the end? What are your students going to be able to do when they finish your course? What projects, examples, assignments are you going to include so that they can practice what you're teaching? Write everything down. You can choose later what you actually include, but every idea. What new things will they be able to do? The learning outcomes. So you want to go through this because you'll find it's hard to niche down, and you really, really need to. If your course is for everybody, nobody's going to be interested in it. If your course is for, you know, anybody who wants to be better at being a leader, nobody's going to, they're not going to see themselves in that. The reason why my course on Udemy is doing so well is because I, in a stroke of what the hell, I'll give it a shot, didn't know what I was doing, said how to lead millennials. Like that was a big thing, you know, 5 years ago. People had no freaking clue. And I had a ton of experience because I had James and Kelsey reporting to me. So I'm like, I know how to do that. They love me. Well, I'll tell them how to do it, right? So, you know, people were like, lead millennials. I don't know how to do that, right? They have to see themselves in it. So this, even though it's the poke your eyes out with pencils stuff, is super, super important. So I'm going to pause there before I talk about the course landing page, and then I'm going to take you over to my 2 platforms where I have courses and talk to you about what's good and bad about both of them. So before I go to the course landing page info, what questions do you have about the other stuff I just went over?
Okay, so I've got questions, of course.
Yeah, no, go. That's good.
In the course script, I think it was where you were there. So it's a course, there's a section and a lecture, if we look at the hierarchy, right?
Yep.
In the lectures, you had printables and there was something else that was there.
Yep.
I'm trying to think what it was, but it just, I can see how clearly those can belong to a section.
Yep. I'm going to show you this curriculum and see if this helps. So are you like, how does it all tie in? Because I'll show you what's here.
Well, I just wondered, like, when you're stringing them together, so I'm kind of getting the concept of breaking this all into these little bite-sized pieces, but to have a printable, I'm just not sure what that is when I've broken it apart, when I could see what the printable might be for the section.
Yep, so
But,
I'll show you.
do you always do that for each lecture?
Almost always. Every,
Okay.
my intro does not have a printable, and you can reuse it multiple times. So this is the back end of my change management course. This is the section. So, you know, this is the course, change management, how to lead change and motivate employees.
Yep.
This is the section. These are the lectures. When I click on this, the only thing in here is a lecture and a very short description. Your resources would be your printables. So it might be a guide, it might be an assessment, it can be all of those things. So you see there's not one here. Now, you can reuse the same guide over and over again. I did, because what you don't want to do, so like if I come here and let's
Okay.
look at this one, the Calm Transformation Model. So it's me talking. I don't remember, I think this one has a place where I use PowerPoint. My descriptions are very short. Here's the Calm Transformation Guide. We come down, so that's the printable or the digital content. Here I talk about the barrier point. I don't have a guide. This is me talking about a personal experience, so there's not a guide. When I get to the Calm assessment, I've got a new printable. So it's the Calm assessment, right? Oh,
Okay.
that was cute. Now, if I go down here to the last one, leading your direct reports, the Calm assessment's back, because they're going to need it for this exercise. And I gave them an example of what it looks like when you fill it out. So
Okay.
here, I have the Calm assessment in here again, because what I don't want is to be here, ask them to do something, and then they go to the lecture and I don't have the document. So if I reference it or I ask them to use it, I just add it in there again. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah.
And then
Thank
I
you.
just, the same thing all the way through. I probably have the Calm, I'm sure I do. I have the Calm assessment in here again, but you can add new material where it's only in that single lecture, or you can reuse content if it's applicable.
Okay.
What other questions do you have before we start talking about the different platforms? And actually, Teachable is the first one I'm going to show you guys, but questions about the framework, the guides, kind of how you set it up. Nothing? It's a bit of a learning curve. I got to tell you guys, my mom was 74 when she looked at me and said, I could create cooking classes online, couldn't I? I'm like, yep, I'll show you how. And it took a while, but you know, she figured it out, how to film herself, how to edit the videos, how to create the landing pages. It's just take it one step at a time. So you can ask me questions about creating the online courses as we go through. I'll jump into the different platforms. So the two platforms I'm going to cover are Teachable and Udemy. You can, you know, protect a page on your website and create an online course. You could upload it to YouTube, mark it unlisted, and send it to them in an email, right? Or you can use one of the teaching platforms. I prefer using the teaching platforms. Teachable is far more expensive than Udemy. Teachable, your first year will be about $1,000. Every year after that's $1,300. I picked Teachable for my professional women's course because I had the brilliant foresight to launch my course in March before COVID hit in April. And, you know, suddenly the world was all over entrepreneurs who are actually trying to earn a living, because you're tone deaf if you're trying to sell your stuff. And then my strategy was, when I'm delivering a keynote, this can be my back end sell, is My course was normally $297, and I would give them a coupon for $100 off, sell it for $197. I'll give a prize to the person who can guess how many speaking engagements I had once COVID hit. They all got canceled. So here I have this course that I've uploaded to Teachable. I've paid $1,000 for the year, and I ain't got no speaking gigs to sell it. So my first year on Teachable, I did recoup the money because I did some virtual engagements, and I had some back-end sales. I made, if you take out what it cost me for Teachable, about $200 on my courses that year for the one that's in Teachable. Last year, it cost me a couple $100 to have my course on Teachable because I didn't cover the cost of the platform. And the reason that I already had courses on Udemy, but the reason that I chose Teachable is it is a very kind of slick, pretty system. Users like the experience. You have way more control. You can charge anything you want on Teachable. You can drip the content if you want to, instead of like, here it is, you go through it at your own pace. You can make it drop once a week if you want. They don't approve your content. They don't ever take it down. That's up to you. On Udemy, if your course doesn't sell, like a couple of mine, eventually they take it off. Now you can make updates and you can put it back on, right? You can only charge a certain amount on Udemy. They have tiers. I could charge $1,000 for this course if I wanted to. You can't do that on Udemy. I'll show you what the tiers are. So, and you can have different schools. You pay for each school. I was going to do this and I'm like, I'm not going to do that. So I have one course inside of Teachable. And here's what I called it: become a corporate badass. You can't do that in Udemy. They're not going to let you use that kind of language. So you have a lot more creative license in this platform. The landing pages are super cool. Let me get, here's my landing page inside of Teachable. It's great, you know? And they do offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. So does Udemy. But you can see the landing page is great. You know, the landing page inside of Udemy is good. It's just not this good. I can offer corporate plans if I want to. You can't do that inside of Udemy. Udemy for Business is their corporate plan, right? But you don't get to offer your own corporate plan. So sounds like, you know, Teachable's a great deal, except that it's freaking expensive. And they don't do any marketing for you. Udemy will, and I'll show you that in a minute. Both are easy to use, easy to upload. They both follow pretty much the same format. So before I show you, so for me, I canceled this. It expires this month, and I have moved all of my content into a new class over on Udemy. And this is going to expire and go away. And before I show you Udemy, I'll just tell you this: it doesn't cost anything to create a course in Udemy, nothing. So questions about Teachable before we look at Udemy? Alicia, go girl.
So Teachable would mostly be useful if you had like a large following of some kind and you knew that you wanted to do it your own way, and you'd make, yeah, that's right, because you'd have to promote yourself, and you'd have to cover those costs. Okay, so
also, if you had the kind of following where you could sell a high ticket item,
okay,
right? Or you had, you know, thousands and thousands of people that were going to buy it for X amount of dollars. I think if COVID hadn't hit, I would not be dropping Teachable, because I had a ton of keynote gigs. I remember my and I told you guys about this in the Get Paid from the Stage, but my my aha moment was when I went to New Orleans and I spoke to the Professional Products Association group. They paid me $8,000 for it. And I was like, this is amazing. It was my first big, you know, $8,000 gig. Afterwards, I had people like, cause I, you know, do what you're supposed to do. I stuck around, I went to the dinners, I did all of that. I can't tell you how many people came up to me after that talk and said, oh, I loved your talk. Like, how else can I, you know, like basically what else can I buy from you? I have nothing. I got nothing. And I got that question over and over again. And I'm on the plane going, what the hell am I going to do? And I'm like, I'll create an online course. I can obviously sell it. People want more. I think if those gigs had continued, I think this would have been, you know, easy. I'd be making 5-10 grand a year and 1,300, whatever. I don't know that for sure. But if you don't have a big following, you're going to go and, or a large number of people who are going to, you know, are going to pay for it, you're going to go in the hole with this. Now, the other thing you can do is you can launch it on Udemy. And the other thing is you do still have to pay a processing fee. You know, there's like different tiers that you pay here for processing fees and for having your content on the platform. For $1,300, it's not free. So they still take a cut. It's not high, but they take a cut. There is a way on Udemy that you can get 97% of the money, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, if there's no other teachable questions, I'm gonna pop you guys over to Udemy. Okay, so we talked about Teachable. So before I get into all of the different things with Udemy, because I'm actually going to take you into my revenue so you can see it. So here's the cool thing about Udemy. Doesn't cost you anything to create an online course. When you create a course, and I'm going to go into this one. So my newest one, I showed you the curriculum. You create a course landing page. Looks pretty good. I'll show you. It doesn't look like the Teachable one, but it's still not bad, you know. And it'll walk you through, you know, your learners, your requirements, all of that. So Udemy is a discount learning platform. They put things on sale all of the time. So you can see right now, I have this course out there for $84, and Udemy, they decide when they put things on sale. Right now it's on sale for $12.99. When you put your course in, you can say, I want to be part of your promotions, or I don't want to be part of your promotions. I always am part of it because they will promote it for me. They're going to reach an audience I'm not going to reach anyway. So the money that I get from them is more than I would get anyway, because I don't know those people, right? They keep, I think you get 37% of that $12.99. So you don't get a lot of money for it. And they scale the revenue across the different geographies. So like when you get rupees, it's like you might make $1.27, because $12.99 in US, in India, because of their economy, that's like a really expensive program for them. So they discount it to make it competitive in India, and you end up with a handful of cents. The other thing is when you enroll in, yeah, I'll be part of your discounts, sometimes third parties will sell it. So not Udemy, but other companies who are partners with Udemy put together different bundles. They go try to sell, and then you get half of the 37%. So I mean, it's like baby money. However, you can create your own links, promote them on your site or in your email or wherever you do it, share it with people, and they're not going to see that $12.99. They're going to see the $84.99. And when they buy it, I get 97% of that. So you can also do that. Let me get back. Okay, that's the landing page. Hang on. You can choose whether or not you let them do closed captions. I don't let them because I'm not going to play around with trying to fix it for them. They reviewed my course. They didn't have anything they wanted me to fix. So this is what I mean by the pricing tiers. I don't know why that says $87, to be honest with you, because you can see I have it here as $159. So I don't know, but it will only allow you to go up to $199. You can't go any higher than that. And there's some, like you can see here, if you intend to offer your course for free, the total length of the video must be less than 2 hours. What you can do though, for any one of your courses, whenever you want to, you can create a coupon, and you can create a free coupon if you want to send it to people. This is your link where you would copy it and send it to someone who's interested, where you get 97% of the amount. And if you create a coupon and they use it, you get 97%. So let's say I get on a stage tomorrow and I say, you know, for the next, 24 hours, y'all can have, my course for $50. Here's your coupon. I get 97% of that. It will let you deliver course messages. So I always have a welcome message and a congratulations message. You can, if you want to, set your availability, and then you can see who your students are. So let's talk about Udemy for Business. This course you can see is in Udemy for Business. When did I start this course? It's about 3 weeks old. I'm going to come off of this and I'm going to look at you guys, and we're going to talk about Udemy for Business, and then I'm going to bring you back here. So hang on. Okay. I didn't know a freaking thing about Udemy for Business. I didn't know it was a thing. What it is it's like lynda.com or any other resource you've heard of where a corporation says, I want to sign up for your learning platform. And then all the people in my company, it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. They can watch whatever they want to watch and learn about. And I, as a leader, have these 5 courses I want them to take. So Stephanie, I'm going to assign these 5 courses to you in Udemy for Business. Okay. Udemy decides which courses go in Udemy for Business. You can't ask them to be in it. You can't send them a note and say, this is why I think you're going to want me in it. They curate them from the thousands and thousands of courses that they have. I didn't know it was a thing. But when I launched my first course, I really, really, really wanted it to be like, make me some money around here. So in order to do that, I wanted to be in the highlighted courses, because when people go to the site, it's going to pop up. And in order to do that, you have to get a bunch of reviews. So I went on a campaign with all my friends and family and said, please watch this course and give me a review, which they did. And so I got over 25 reviews in 6 weeks. And all of a sudden I got a note from Udemy and they said, your course, congratulations, your course is now in Udemy for Business. And I'm like, what the hell is that? So that's how I learned what it is. Udemy for Business pays you by the minute consumed. It used to pay you by the number of people that sign up. They don't do that anymore. So if you have 100 people sign up and nobody watches it, you don't make anything. If you have 100 people sign up and they watch it, you get about 2.5 cents a minute. So it's still, it's still little money, unless for some reason the people in India lose their fucking minds and watch hours and hours and hours of your stuff. So I'm going to show you what that can look like here in my performance statistics. No, I'm going to go back because I want you to see this first. Okay, course engagement. This is the minutes. So this is my usual minutes. in Udemy for Business, and the reviews have to be like 4.5 or higher, I think, in order for your course to stay in there, because they want it to be high quality. And I'm going to show you a problem I've got in a minute. So here I am in April, not really paying attention, rolling along, you know, going, oh, wow, that went up to 10,000 minutes. That's weird. Okay, I'm back down, 12,000 minutes. And my money went up a little bit. I'm like, that's weird. 16,000 minutes. I'm like, what the hell? 20,000 minutes. The big kahuna, 43,000 minutes. Like every minute I was breathing, 2 people were watching my damn videos. And that's before I had the change management one. And this is when Udemy for Business contacted me and said, we want you to be in our Super Whamadime program. And I asked her, what the hell's going on in India? And she goes, I don't know. You know, we don't know. Maybe somebody assigned it, like we don't freaking know. Well, it dropped like a hot potato right here. So now we're rolling along. I published the new change management course. And now that one is starting to take off. So like this is by day, 500 minutes, you know, this is up to the 40,000 minute, like 40,000 minutes a month level. If you start getting 1,300 minutes a day, this is by day, and they're 2 days behind in their thing. So I'm going to take you to revenue. So look at my revenue. I made $1,000 in November because people lost their minds watching the damn course. So even though it was only like 2.5 cents a minute, I made $1,100 from Udemy for Business that month. This is typical for me. I typically make about 70 bucks. Like it used to be, me and Janice can buy coffee and have lunch, you know, every month. It's a little bit better than that now. You can see my revenue for the last year. So, you know, I'm tooling along, 200, 300, 500, 1,000. I'm back down here. It'll go back up. This is at 78 because they for February, they won't calculate my Udemy for Business for probably another couple of days. This is already going to be a pretty good month because I can see the number of minutes that people are consuming. But if you go back, you'll see like this was a pretty typical year for me. You know, 90 to 100 bucks. You know, here we're, you know, again, the averaging $100 a month, right? So I'm just like bebopping along. So you can imagine like the $1,000, I'm like, what the fuck? So if I go back here to students, I'll show you this, and it'll show you for all courses. Look at that. Like I've got almost 3,000 students in India. So they are, you know, consuming that content like crazy. The nice thing about Udemy for Business is their reach. So you can see, I've got students from all over the world. So I can, you know, by bragging rights, if I, you know, when I write my bio or whatever, I can say I have online courses with, you know, students in 107 countries. It's been translated into 28 languages. That is true. Udemy for Business has translated my content into 28 languages for me. And then how many students do I have? 8,000 students. So you can say that, and, you know, I'm sure people think I'm a multimillionaire. No, it's like $100 a month until it goes crazy somewhere. But here's the thing, you create that content, you put it out there, it bumps along and does its thing. If you can get 25 reviews that are good, it will get the attention of Udemy for Business, and they'll decide whether or not to pull it in. Once they pull it in, you now have the option to sell it on your own the way that you were going to do it anyway. And then they're going to go push it. I did nothing to make that $1,000. What I did do was panicked because I was like, holy crap, like I need to get my reviews, make sure my reviews stay up because I want to be able to keep earning that money. So that's when I added those assignments, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So you can see my course rating's lower than I want it to be. It was hovering at like 4.8. I think once it gets to 4.5, they start looking at dropping it. I'm surprised they haven't dropped me already. I think they haven't because historically for the last many years, it has performed well. So here's the yin and the yang of my India deluge. Udemy calculates the course rating on the last 90 days. It's rolling, it changes every day. So I had a ton of people take my course and I mean, thousands, and rate it. And some of them were very traditional, I'll say Indian culture, and they hated it. This is a US based course, and this, you know, they don't want to be a servant leader. That is not their bag. So they gave terrible ratings. That's okay. And it hid in those thousands. Well, now as the 90 days are dropping off, some of the bad ones were at the end where now my ratings drop, right? So now I'm at a 3.9. I'm hoping they let me weather the next month or two because it'll pop back up to 4.48. It seems like they are. I dropped lower and now I'm climbing back up. But you can see just in March, I've had 45 people enroll and I've made $6 outside of Udemy for Business. For change management, I've had 113 people enroll and I've only had it online for about 3 months. This is my redo of the Badass. So this is how professional women rise. This one bumps along the presentation skills. I get a few here and there. They took these two off. So this one I thought was going to be a great seller and it did not sell hardly at all. So they ended up saying, hey woman, nobody wants that course. We're going to take it off. You can fix it and put it back if you want. This one is just hysterical. I'm surprised they ever let me put it on there. So it's all really about how to stay safe and comfortable when you're traveling with corporate. And I just kind of had fun with it. I filmed some of it in Munich. I filmed some of it here. I just, you know, and I sold a few of them, but I don't know. They just decided they didn't like it. So they took it off. They won't do that to you on Teachable. That's your content. You decide what you're going to do with it. So I've, you know, you can look at the reviews there, or you can come over here. Let me show you this. Hang on. Okay. All right. Assignments. So about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, I decided I would do assignments. This is why I'm telling you don't do assignments. I've had to respond to 1,176 assignments because those people in India lost their minds and they would all write me back. And so then I would write them. My strategy was, you know, get my reviews, keep them higher. I think it works to an extent. I do have a document with kind of canned responses that I customize, but like I did these yesterday. So how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 new ones, which I'll respond to in the morning. So I come in here every day or two and respond. Right now it's slower because you saw my engagement. There was a time when I had 20 or 30 a day of these, right? Because people are watching 43,000 minutes of your video. They're going to do more assignments, which is great. I'll happily respond. But going forward, that's why I'm saying, imagine if I did this in my change management course, because since I've launched it, I'm going to look at the overall course. Since I launched it 3 weeks ago, let's look at the landing page. Hang on. Let's see. I've had 201 people sign up for it in the last 3 weeks. Now, a lot of them are through Udemy for Business. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. So if I had them do assessments, plus the other course, and then the next one, which I am contracted with Udemy to do another one this year, I could have 120 assignments a day to respond to. I'm not doing that. So every course I do from now on is going to be reflect on this, fill this out, consider that. I'm not going to do this again. Take this quiz. It's all going to be things that is going to engage them that I don't have to do. So the reason I am in Udemy for Business right now, so you guys saw me put out there the free link to please watch my course and review it. I did that because typically you have to have 25 reviews to get into Udemy for Business. Change management, how to lead change and motivate people, that's, I knew that that would perform well. Day 2 I got a note from Deborah, the gal I'm working with at Udemy, and she's like, we got your course in Udemy for Business. And I'm like, what? I don't have, I got a couple of reviews. But because I'm in that program, which I have a message to talk to her about it, because I'm in that program, she sent her a note to Udemy for Business colleagues and said, hey, Carla finished a course, take a look at it. And they popped it right in, and it's performing really well. My next course will be the same thing because I'm working directly with them. So for you guys to get into Udemy for Business, though, you're going to want to really work hard on those reviews. So if you use the Udemy platform, you're going to want to really work hard on those reviews so that it hits their algorithm and they go, oh, wait, Alicia's got this course on creativity. It's gotten 30 reviews in the last 6 weeks. Let's take a look at that and see if we want to pull it over. Right? That was a lot of information. So I'm going to pause. I will answer any questions you have about money, about content, about anything. What are y'all thinking?
Do you know how often Udemy for Business takes things that aren't necessarily business related? Like how often would they, if I did a course about, sorry about the background noise.
Oh, no, you're good.
If I did a course about, say, creativity, or I mean, if I could get really specific and make like create wall hanging courses, or create like how to make a dance, or, you know, those feel very specific to me, and I wouldn't imagine them being picked up by Udemy for Business. But are there other platforms in Udemy that they would maybe send it to differently, or I don't know. Do you know?
So I don't know, but I'm gonna tell you my gut reaction to that. I don't think that they would put a how to create a wall tapestry into Udemy for Business. What I think is you could have a, how to create wall tapestries, and or how to use creativity to make better business decisions, and talk about the creative process, how you tap into your creativity, and then how you can leverage that to make better business decisions, right? So like you could, and then you have your tapestry one over here, right? So you would specifically create a course that's around creativity that would relate to that audience. And I mean, business is business. I don't know, they may have art schools in there. They may have, I don't know, another museums in there. I don't know what they have in their business model. So they could pick it up. But if you really want to target Udemy for Business, like I want to get seen by them, then you could approach it in 2 different ways. What other questions do you have about the model, the money?
I have a question. Is there a reason like Udemy compared to Skillshare? Like, is there a reason you picked Udemy compared to other platforms? Like I see Alicia on like Skillshare, because that would be like you're sharing something. I didn't know if you had any thoughts about that.
It's the one I knew. So I listened to a podcast by this guy named Phil Ebner, and he used Udemy for Business, and I went, that sounds good. I heard about Skillshare later, and I thought about doing that, and then I'm like, I'm going to get too wide. Like, I got to simplify this. So I just stayed on Udemy. But there's nothing wrong with those other platforms either.
And when you were talking about earlier about, let's just say I want to create a program, and I just want to have a link on my website and they can buy it, and then I can send them that information. Have you done something like that before, or you've just always had it in a platform?
I've always had it in a platform, because for me, Udemy is easy to use. It uploads it, it creates its own landing page. I don't have to mess with the payment portal. It's all built in. I don't have to mess with the refunds. If somebody doesn't like it, they click a button, Udemy sends them their money back. Like I create the content and I'm done. So
Yeah.
for me, it was worth it to do it that way.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in my head, like if I created a course and they put it and they went in and Googled, like college prep or being successful in college,
Oh,
my
you can do
would
this.
it come would
Let
it
me
come
show-
up
Yeah,
through
yeah.
Udemy?
You can totally do this. Check this out. Okay, which reminds me I have to fix this eventually. Here, I've got a link to it. Yes, I want in. You click here, it's going to take you to Udemy to sign up.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or no, this one takes them to Teachable. I have to write a note.
But
So I have to update my website. They could still buy it here, which is fine, but I need to go back to my website and update this with the new title. I can leave all of this the same and just send them to Udemy instead.
yeah, that's what I was kind of
Yep.
that's what I was kind of asking if you could do, just because I am a little concerned, like if I go in Google and I search courses, like Udemy doesn't come up. So my thought would be, well, if they got it through my website or they got it through, a promote, or I was saying, I have this, here's where you can find it. It just seems to be,
It might
could be
come
based
up.
on my search engine
It
too,
might
because I've
come up.
never.
Yeah, it may come up based on your title. So watch how to lead. Let's say how to lead millennials. I think mine does come up pretty high up in the search. I don't pay for it.
Right.
I think I'd have to put something different in, but here it is. Is this it? No. But depending on what they search for,
Right.
it could come up. And the other thing is, Udemy does, if people know what Udemy is, they can search up here.
Yeah, because I didn't know what it was before. And so that was my concern, is that like if I hadn't heard about it and I'm like in my business, right? But
Yep.
I really wanted to do what you had showed before about here's my website, here's the link, and this is where you can take it.
Yep.
Yeah, I just needed some, because I'm so, I'm still so fresh to this that they're not necessarily searching for me. But if I could, start introducing the course that way, that's what I would like. In my ideal world, that's what I would probably like to do.
Absolutely. The other thing you can do is, remember in the Canva tutorial, you can create a QR code. So
Yes.
you can take that link, create a QR code, and put that on any of your materials. You could put it on a business card. You could put it on your takeaway documents.
And you had shown a drop down for pricing for the courses. Is there a little guide like to the side or something to know, what my pricing, like tier 29 might not be my pricing? Like, how did you decide? You're just able to pick one?
Yep. You pick. I think that they have some, price tier matrix. Let's look at that.
Yeah, like some guidance on that, because I wouldn't
Yeah.
know where to pick.
So they have, this just tells you what you'll make. So this is all of the different,
Okay.
so that's not really helpful. I think, and I could be wrong. Okay, it goes up, this is as high as it goes. So if you offer it free, it has to be less than 2 hours. Market where Udemy doesn't, we show optimized price list. We show a price list chosen by the instructor. Oh, that's why I chose $159. They decided it was an $87 course. Did you see where it said like optimize? Yeah, that's why.
So they're deciding the price.
They did. However, check this out. If I go to my, they chose what it's for sale on Udemy for. If I go to my promotions and I copy this, let's test this. I believe this is going to work. I love it when you do things where I'm going to say, oh yeah, this is going to work. I'm going to go to an incognito window. I bet it comes up at $159. No, it doesn't. It comes up at 84. So yeah, I picked the price. I'm gonna guess what they decided the price was based off of the number of minutes, because this isn't a really long course. It is an hour and a half with 24 downloads. So it's probably based off of how long it is. I'm guessing.
Okay.
What other questions do you have? What you
I'm
thinking?
yeah, I'm just thinking.
I'm ready to get started with my outline. What's the homework?
It helps a lot. I would start with that step one and really like dig into, so like I have to create another course. I signed a contract with Udemy. I said I'd create 2 in a year. I finished that one, got 6-7 months to create the next one. And I have a call with Deborah Monday where we're going to decide what the topic is. So I will always painfully start with that step one document where I really walk through who's it for, who's it not for, blah, blah, blah. And then what's really cool is when you fill that out really tight, when you go to create your landing page, it's so easy because it's like, who's your intended learners? Oh, these people. What do they need to know before? Oh, these things. Like your landing page will kind of basically build itself. And as I'm saying that, I'm realizing I didn't show you my landing page example. So this is basically my landing page in Udemy for that course. So when you go through it, you're basically building it, the course, the subtitle, the course description. What are they going to learn? What do they need to know before? Who's it for? So, oh, I'm not showing my screen, am I? I thought I was sharing my screen. That was cute. Hold please. This. So this is basically a cut and paste to my landing page. It's all the stuff that I have in that step one document, right? So everything kind of feeds. And like I said, I didn't really want to do it, but I did it. And then it helped. And then now I had that. So when I went to build my lectures and what I'm going to put in it, if I started to get lost, I'm like, wait a minute, that's not, because change management is such a big topic that it's like, no. There's so much more I could have put in there. I'm not going to put that in because that really doesn't relate to leaders trying to motivate employees. Is it important? Yeah. But like, for example, the project I'm working on right now, I'm helping ERP implementation with communication content. So one of the key things you have to do when you're doing that is send a leader bundle first. So like if Lori was our leader, I would send to Lori an email about we've had to change the go live date. And I'd say, and Lori, here's some frequently asked questions that your team might have. And here's an email I'm going to send to all employees in 2 days. You have time to review it. If you want to let them know in advance, go right ahead and let me know if you have any questions about your leader bundle. And then in 2 days, I send the email out to employees so that I'm not like looking at my email. Lori's walking out of a meeting and I'm like, hey, what's going on with the go live change? She has no idea what I'm talking about, right? So we're equipping leaders to lead the change with proper communications. I started to put that into my course and then I'm like, no. They're the recipient of that. Like that's what the project team has to do. I'm not going to tell the leaders because that's what we're going to give them to serve them. And if I hadn't done my outline in advance, I might have, thrown that in there. That's important. I'll throw that in there. So it is important to do that pre-work. Any other questions? Don't see anybody going, oh, I don't understand. I'll give you guys a couple of updates for the membership. So really interesting going through the Get Paid from the Stage and some other conversations. Starting in April, I am going to switch things up a little bit and I got to get it all the way down. And I want to share with you guys what I'm going to transition to. So what I keep hearing over and over again is it's really the community and the conversation that are like incredibly valuable. And I've been scared to death that I'm going to run out of things to show you guys, right? Because I'm like, got all these bundles, and then now there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. I don't know anybody's taking the time to go through the back issues because it takes time, right? So when I did my 5-day challenge, I had these two amazing women from the UK join. One of them, they're both coaches, which is hysterical because afterwards they're like, we need to get you on a phone call because we want to help you like grow your business. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I get on this phone call with them. And one of them is coaches women about how to run memberships. The other one is amazing at challenges. So she walked me through a framework that she used that she really likes, that I love, that I'm going to give a go on the next challenge. The other lady said, okay, you got a membership. So tell me about your membership. And she has a membership that has 2,000 people in it. She started a year ago and she got 2,000 people in it. And she said, let me tell you what I do. And she's asked me really good questions. Like, what do people value about your membership? What do your members tell you? So what I'm going to transition to is, first of all, I'm changing the names because all the circle stuff confuses the hell out of people. So I'm changing that. So co-working is just going to be co-working. I'm going to do entrepreneur chats or something like that. Right now, I do those in 1 week. Like I've moved them to like once a month. So I'm going to have those every week. And sometimes it'll be in the morning. Sometimes it'll be at night. I'll come up with a cadence. Instead of planned in advanced bundles, during those calls, that's the members' opportunity to get on there and talk about what they're challenged with. And then those won't be recorded. And then I'll see what is it that people want to learn about? What are they struggling with? And then I'll either create a separate call where we really dig into that and answer questions and create some guides, or I'll bring somebody in to do it. So like, for example, on our co-working call Thursday, last Thursday, Sabrina Schottenhamel said, Carla, I want to create an app and I'm getting ready to take this course. I'm not really sure it's the right thing. Well, I happen to have Wendy Gilhula on the call, and I'm like, Wendy knows all about creating apps. So Wendy asked her like great questions, gave her some great advice. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then we were on a call the other day. Oh, this call yesterday. And I forget who was on it, but she said, oh, I think money blocks would be a great thing to talk through, right? And I'm like, yeah, we could talk about money blocks. And I could bring Christine Kivett in because she does coding. She does hypnotherapy and she also does coding to like take away the negative beliefs we have and like reprogram that, not in hypnosis, but just through a process to have healthier, more positive beliefs around money or whatever. So my plan is to not have this is what I'm going to cover next month, but have weekly conversations and then pull out of that, what are people really either A, struggling with, or B, want to know more about. And then if I don't have the expertise, or even if I do and somebody else wants to come in, bring people in to talk to us. So like this lady from the UK is like, if people want to know about, how to run a challenge, I'll come in and talk to them about that. Like, if you want me to do that, I'll do that. And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah. I only do it for paid groups because I want people there who really want to learn it. But yeah, and then you can come in and help me with my stuff. Like, we do that all the time. So I feel like it'll be more valuable. It'll be more timely. And I'm like, I was honestly thinking, I don't know what to do next. Like, I've done 14 bundles. And Stephanie, you've been on the call with me where I'm like, I'm afraid I'm going to run out of stuff that's going to be valuable. And then I'm like, well, the community is valuable. The co-working is valuable. The conversations are valuable. There's so much inside that's valuable. And I've always said, I'm not going to always be the one that knows, right? So that is the framework that I'm going to move us to starting in April. So that was a lot. I'm going to take a pause and just, I'd love to get your reaction, just kind of see what you're thinking.
Hi.
Hi,
Amelia's joining us.
girl.
Look, you see Aunt Lori? Yeah. I think that sounds great, Carla. I think that sounds also like really empowering to the community too. If, you know, it's some of the community who's doing some of the presenting or some of the problem solving. I'm curious, just because the early mornings, weekdays, and this time in the afternoon are like the hardest times for me. I mean, and I may be the only one, so I'm fine with going with that. But if there's ever an opportunity to do something just like a little bit later in the morning, or you know, I'm the person who I'm the entrepreneur who works during school days, during the school hours. So
Yeah.
I work between 7:30 and 2, and that's what I have.
Yeah.
So
so
I'm
that's
just
where
putting that out there.
I love it. And I'm glad you did, because that is really where I struggle. And so I have a couple of things that we can consider. So like, even though, you know, I'll say a full-time entrepreneur, I also have a client that I have to be available for during the day, right? So it's kind of like having a job. I mean, I'm not always busy with it, but like I have to be available to my client. So what I'm thinking is, I worry about doing afternoon things because I don't know what he's going to do. But I mean, I could do a Sunday, you know, like once or twice a month, do a Sunday afternoon, right? Or
Yeah, or the weekend mornings are great too.
Yeah.
But it's like waking up at 6 a.m. and coming in to get paid from the stage was, sorry, Rosie's going crazy, was a little bit like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm waking up. And it turned out to be one of my favorite times because the house was quiet and I didn't have anywhere to be. I didn't have anything else I would have normally been working on. I would have probably just been sleeping. So, you know, stuff like
Yeah.
that. I'm just curious. So
I think I need to come up with something that's going to work for multiple people, right? So like come up with a schedule where it's, you know, we do, because like I used to do these calls later and Stephanie's like, hello, East Coast over here. I'm like falling asleep. Can we make them earlier? Because I used to start them at 5. So I'm like, yeah. So we moved them up to 4. The 7 a.m. one works for me because Erez is not going to bug me at 7 o'clock in the morning. He just doesn't. So I'm safe at 7. And we could totally do something on the weekend, maybe even like 8 o'clock on a Sunday, you know. And so my plan is to figure out a cadence where there's something every month for everybody. And then when we have a guest come in, I'll send out an email, I'll put it in the Facebook group, and then that is the session I would record, so that if somebody missed it, well, then you can watch the recording. But yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, because it's, you know, and there needs to be offers in there where it works for different people.
Yeah, and once you guys are at the same time, well, once we're at the same time with you
It's easy.
next week, it's a little bit easier because my girls go to school at 7:30, and then I could pop on. But it's like at 7 o'clock, I'm busy packing lunches, scooting them out the door. But if I can come in a half hour late, I'm sure that you won't
Oh yeah,
mind that, and I'll just come
always
in.
fine. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll vary them so that we
Okay.
have different options for everybody. And then if there's some time that you're like, this really, you know, this would be ideal, this would really work for me, like send me a chat, send me a note, because I can always, you know, because we're going to have 4 or 5 entrepreneur chats a month, right? So there's no reason there can't be one that's like, you know, 8 o'clock on a Sunday or whatever, you know. Saturday will be interesting because that's when I'm doing the Get Paid from the Stage program for the next 6 weeks. And I may even move that to an evening one for one of the cohorts. I'm still kind of playing with that, right? But we can pick a time and I can block that and then be like, okay, then that once a month, we're going to do that, you know. So yeah, shoot me a note with what you think would work for you, because if it works for you, it's going to work for somebody else too. The other thing selfishly that does is it takes a little bit of pressure off of me, because I'm like freaking out over here going, what am I going to do in April? I've already done all these other things. So if we're on a call and I hear, oh, I'd love to learn how to make an app, great, I'll pull somebody in. And I'll go over into the big community and say, hey, you know, the Rise Sisters in the membership, would really like to learn about X. Is there somebody in this community that's an expert in Instagram, in LinkedIn, in, you know, how to build an app, whatever. And then that gives them an opportunity to showcase what they know how to do to you guys, and you don't have to listen to me talk all the time. Any other thoughts about it? Does it feel good, or are you guys like, oh man, I don't love that?
No, I like it because one of my favorite new words, I didn't get it from corporate, I actually got it from both of my sisters, is curating. And I love that because, and that's kind of what you're doing, is you're going to be curating your content, and it is one of my very favorite new words
Oh, good, good,
in
good,
the last
good.
couple of years.
I love that. And you know, just building more and more, like conversations like this are super valuable, right? It's funny because I had somebody, oh, it was Wendy. She had a really challenging thing happen, and we got on a co-working circle, and she was like, I couldn't wait to get on here because I'm like, my Rice sisters are going to understand like that, you know, it was a business thing, but she's like, that shouldn't have happened, right? And we're like, no, absolutely not, right? So it's just that community and that ability to talk through those things is so important. What else are you thinking about? I'll go a couple different directions here. The new framework, any other additional thoughts? So this is what I plan to do. Co-working like we're doing twice a day, twice on Thursdays. Weekly entrepreneur chats. I'm not sure what I'll call them, but we get together. Those aren't recorded. Neither of those are recorded. When we have someone come in to deliver a themed, you know, share your expertise, that will be recorded. And then I'll still do the goal setting every other month. I don't know what I'll call it, but we'll do goal setting every other month just to kind of stay on the same page. And then we'll see, you know, we'll evolve. I'm thinking about doing a book club in here. I used to do it over in Sparkle and Rise in the big community, but if there's a desire to do a book club, we could do a book club inside. I'm not going to do it in the free group anymore. I'll just do it here if there's an interest. So, you know, just be thinking about what else would you would find valuable. Cool.
With the time zones and the change that's happening this weekend,
Oh, okay.
does everything stay Arizona time for
Yep.
what you have going? And so all the other time zones who never understood how to change are going to have to figure out how to change around
Yeah.
it.
I'm keeping it at the same time.
Okay.
And I know it could be confusing, but I'm like, it's 7 a.m. my time. So that's kind of a selfish thing because like I said, I know Erez is not going to bug me at 7 a.m. my time. And I even stopped like doing the time because I screwed it up all the time. So that wasn't good. And then it would change and I wouldn't know what changed because I don't change. Right? So I keep it Mountain Standard Time.
Okay.
What else?
I think it's great. I think it's time. I feel like it's like the leveling up thing, right? It's like you started the membership, it's been really great, and now it's time to like level it up. So I think it'll be, yeah, I think it'll be really good. I like the idea of pulling what people need help with and pulling someone in to help that. So
Yeah,
I think it's.
I'm excited to get other people in, you know, get their ideas. Cause you know, in Get Paid from the Stage too, I kept hearing that like you guys really liked it, like when Anne came in and we get somebody else in. And so I think, you know, I want it to be a great experience for everybody. And then it'll make it easier for me to facilitate too, right? Because I'll know that I'm delivering what you guys need. And then I won't be like panicked going, I don't know what to do for April.
Yeah.
Okay, you're welcome. I'm actually gonna head out because my dinner is ready as well. So thank you guys for hanging. If you have any questions, let me know.